Thank you for joining us. An important event took place in South Florida with thousands attending the Summit for Israel at Nova Southeastern University. It was a truly heartwarming assembly presented by the Broward Pastors Network and the Jewish Federation of Broward County, and the purpose to express solidarity and to counter an international campaign to delegitimize Israel. Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon and Consul General Chaim Shacham were joined by several members of Congress and many other important leaders, including Pastor Mario Bramnick, President of the Broward Pastors Network, and Robert Stearns, Executive Director of Eagle's Wings. We are proud to present highlights of the event in several special shows, and today we'll begin with Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon, a member of Congress, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee, following these messages.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever South Florida Summit for Israel. Christians and Jews standing united for Israel. I'm Eric Stillman, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Broward County. I'm honored to open this evening's program with Pastor Mario Bramnick, President of the Broward Pastors Network.
Congresswoman, what's the significance of this event today?
This is an incredibly important event. I'm thrilled to welcome the minister to my congressional district, but we are going to see the overwhelming support that exists in South Florida, in the state of Florida, and the United States for a strong Jewish state of Israel, and to make sure that the global campaign of delegitimization is undermined and is not allowed to deepen its roots.
What would you add to that, sir?
I can say that Israel and the United States are natural allies for so many reasons of values and interests and traditions and ethos. Especially at these challenging times, it's great to hear the voices coming from the United States, and especially here in the great state of Florida and the great district of Congresswoman Wasserman here. So we have known each other for many, many years, so it's a real pleasure to be here in the Congresswoman's district.
Thank you, sir. Is Israel's relationship with the United States as important as ever?
Oh, absolutely. It's as important as ever, and Israel's relationship with the United States is as strong as ever. The United States and Israel stand side by side as strong allies and friends. We have unprecedented military cooperation, unprecedented interaction, and our leaders continue to work very strongly together at the congressional level. President Obama, Prime Minister Netanyahu remain close and will continue to work hard, particularly to make sure that Israel is supported on an international stage by the United States, and also to make sure that we can help move the peace process forward.
Thank you.
Going back to your comments regarding Benjamin Netanyahu and President Obama, is there still a rift between that? Because they had a little bit of a falling out when Netanyahu. No?
There's never been a rift between Prime Minister
regarding
Netanyahu.
the 67 borders.
And I think you could ask the Deputy Minister, and he could certainly confirm that.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't pay attention to different reports. I can tell you in a very categoric way, and I believe also in an authoritative way, that we have not had a better friend than President Obama, and we will continue to work together, because not only it's our ideal, it's also our interests. And just as the Congresswoman said, cooperation has never been better on issues which are of the most sensitive and of most importance to our collective security and well-being.
But will Israel go back to
Thank
their
you very
67 borders? Would they be willing to go back?
Well, our position is very clear. We have to negotiate, and everything is interrelated. And you cannot describe, or you cannot agree on borders before you know what are the security arrangements, what about the issue of refugees, Jerusalem, settlements, territories. They're all interrelated. We have been waiting at the negotiating table for direct negotiations without preconditions. We still hope that this will happen. But in the case of our relations with the United States, we will always work together. We do not see any country which is better positioned to continue and lead the international community, and also the Middle Eastern affairs, and especially the peace process between us and the Palestinians.
What can you
Very
tell us about
interesting.
the
If I can
Israeli
just-
state
excuse
of
me,
the
if I-
effort to
Excuse me,
Hold on,
if
hold
I
on,
can
sir.
just,
an independent
excuse me,
Palestinian state?
Sir.
if I can just add,
Yeah, go ahead.
another, just to underscore what the Deputy Minister has said, it's important to note that the position of the United States is that the only way to achieve peace with two states living side by side in peace is through direct bilateral negotiations. And that's another incredibly important reason why we're having this event here today, to strongly stand up in support of that concept, to make sure that we push hard against the delegitimization of Israel on the international stage, and ensure that a Palestinian desire to unilaterally declare a state is rejected, and that we make sure that the United States is clear on that point.
Last
What can you
question.
tell us
Excuse
about
me,
the
last
status of that, of the effort to declare a Palestinian state unilaterally? How far advanced is it?
Well, it's quite amazing. In a cynical way, the Palestinians have not really declared their official position, although there are many signs, but they have not made their position yet, and still everybody else has the dilemma how to act in the United Nations. But it is very clear that all the agreements we have had and still have with the Palestinians bar any unilateral action, and any approach that will be unilateral will mean friction and conflict instead of cooperation, reconciliation, and working together. Not only it's a matter of a contractual issue, which is important enough as we look forward and we hope to establish trust with them, but also it's a matter of logic and a matter of realities on the ground. We have had too many times where an automatic majority, a Bolshevik majority, I would say, was turning against Israel or against Western interest in the United Nations General Assembly. And out of the 193 member states, if we have 120 which are either Arab or Muslim or those who are dependent upon them, then you cannot really render this resolution with great credibility, effectiveness, and certainly not morality. So we do not have much expectation if the Palestinians decide to go to the UN General Assembly, but we do have expectation from responsible countries, democratic countries with rule of law, like-minded countries that will not support such a resolution. And I believe if we reach all the democratic countries, responsible ones, that will not support this resolution, I think that will be a strong message to the international community, but first and foremost to the Palestinians, that they have to come back to their senses. They should stop their, I would almost say, childish behavior, capricious behavior, and come to the table as we are waiting, we have been waiting, to discuss with the Palestinians all issues without preconditions.
Let me introduce you to also our host, President of Broward Jewish Federation, Eric Stillman, and Pastor Bradnick, who organized this event as well. If you want to ask questions to them, they'll be available.
Yeah,
Would
why
like
don't you
to.
ask them some
Excuse me.
questions?
I have a question.
Feel free.
Excuse me. I write for a student newspaper. I have a question. How can students spread awareness about Zionism in South Florida?
The best way is to reach out. I believe that today with the social media, it is very easy for each student that knows the facts, that believe not only in the great Jewish roots and history of our land, but also believe in the future that is important not just to Jews and Christians and not just to Israel and the United States, but to the entire free world. To reach out, and if each student can reach out 5, 10, speak out, write, don't be shy about it, just let the facts speak for themselves. I think this is the most important thing.
Let me add something
May I
else,
ask
and it's
a-
important,
Oh, sorry.
and it's important that students on campuses across this country organize in support of Zionism, in support of the State of Israel, because there are far too many college campus organizations that are organized against the State of Israel and are supportive of delegitimizing Israel. So we need to make sure that students on college campuses who are supportive of Israel do that same kind of organization as well.
One question from Brent from Newsmax.
Mr. Ayalon, would the unilateral Palestinian action at the UN effectively kill the Oslo Agreement?
Well, anything can happen. It is unfortunate that they even think about abrogating these agreements, because by going to the United Nations, they specifically go against what they signed on. Not once, not twice, 3 or 4 times. We also expect the countries that are signatories to these agreements, mainly the European countries, which signed as witnesses to this agreement, we hope that they would be able to dissuade them from doing this unilateral act, or in the least to vote against it and not to support it in the General Assembly, if indeed they take it to the General Assembly. In any case, it certainly could mean the end of the process as we know it, but Israel will continue to act in a very responsible way. We are also very much aware of all the mayhem that is happening in the Middle East around us, and this is why I believe that important and responsible countries should not give a hand to such a unilateral act which will further destabilize the region, which is already not stabilized. So I think it's very important for all countries that have this interest of continued stability and avoid international terrorism, which could be encouraged by that, or would avoid any further influx of refugees, or would also support the continued free flow of oil to the West, which is so very important. I believe all these issues should bind us together and tell the Palestinians enough is enough. You cannot just wrap the entire international community around your fingers and just do things that are illogical, are against the contract, and are very, very damaging on the ground.
It's important to note, though, that President Obama and the administration and congressional leadership in the United States are all working towards convincing and influencing other countries to vote against that unilateral resolution if it does come to the UN, but even more importantly, as the Deputy Minister said, to dissuade the Palestinians from bringing it to a vote in the first place.
How will you explain that some member of Israeli parliament, Knesset, especially Arabic members, act against the government? Do you call it democracy?
Absolutely. We're very proud of our democratic values. Israel is a very vibrant democracy. I wish we would have democracies around us. Then maybe we would have a better Middle East with a better future for the people, so they can shape their lives. They can really materialize their ambitions and their legitimate rights all over. Yes, Israel will continue to be a democracy. This is the only way that we know, and continue the rule of law, a strong civil society. Everyone is entitled for their own opinions, even if we do not like them. But I think it's maybe high time for Israel to maybe take some good things from the United States in terms of loyalty of oath and other things that will help the solidarity of the country.
How has the Arab Spring changed Israel's relationship with its neighbors and also the United States?
Well, remains to be seen. First, I would say that in that case, Israel, the United States, all the Western countries are on the same boat, and all of us wish well for all the peoples in the Middle East. And certainly all of us who live in free countries, we would wish to have the same for all the peoples around us. Whether this will happen or not remains to be seen. And certainly there is an interim period whereby when there is not new emergency, no democratic leadership, new one that has emerged without institutions yet, the main danger is that extreme but dedicated minorities can take over the revolutions, can hijack them to their own purposes in the same manner the Ayatollahs and the Islamists in Iran did in 1979 in Tehran. And so this is the high time for the international community to continue and put the pressure on Iran.